how many years ago? That was 2003, I guess. I took my first ceramic course at the University of Manitoba. I was a painting major at the time, and yeah, we had to do either a sculpture or another 3D like ceramics. So I took ceramics and fell in love with it. So I did another major in ceramics, did my honors, went on to get my master's at the University of Minnesota. Yeah, it just kind of took over, consumed my art life. Well, I think we all like the firing process because opening the door is kind of special, watching the chemical reactions and what they did, turning your mud into ceramic and the glazes get all shiny. But wheel throwing is my medium, or my technique of choice with this medium. Behind me, we have a soda kiln, and it's a little different than some of the other kilns around. It needs to be a gas-fired kiln because an electric kiln, they have elements. And with a soda kiln, we're using sodium as a glaze. And we spray either salt, or I use sodium bicarbonate or sodium carbonate. And it sprays around through the little injector ports, and it adheres to any silica in the clay. So our clay is about 25% silica. And when the sodium hits the silica, it becomes sodium silicate, which is glass. And so it kind of glasses over everything in the kiln. If we had elements in the kiln, it would burn out. So this is right now the only gas soda kiln in Winnipeg until the university gets theirs. Of course, hopefully it'll be firing next year, but right now, yeah, people can come here and fire the soda kiln. So here's an unglazed or unfired piece. It has little wads on the bottom, and that keeps the piece off the shelf. So when I am spraying in the sodium, the glass kind of goes everywhere, it gets on the bottom, and these refractory, we call them wads, these refractory feet reject the soda, and the piece can come off really easily. So when your piece comes out, it's all really shiny, and the little wadding bits come off. Because the soda doesn't go into the cup, I line the cup with glaze. So later on, and it'll have a liner of glaze in the piece, and while the outside is getting the treatment from the soda fire. Yeah. So the size of your pieces does matter, but more in the beginning of a firing. In the beginning of firing, we ramp the temperature up very slowly because the shock, the thermal stresses, the thermal shock of the clay, if you have a really large piece, it's going to expand a little when it gets hot. And if you heat it up too quickly, it can cause a crack when it does its expansion. So when it's going from a regular cool temperature to red hot is the main, we call it quartz inversion. It kind of increases in size and you have a chance of cracking. So we'll slow it down through that stage and go extra slow if your piece is really large. So most of your firing is actually the ramping up in temperature. This firing took about 10, 11 hours, and only the last maybe 3 hours was the actual temperature above 1,200 degrees Celsius. We get it up to 1,280 and that's when I spray the sodium into the ports and make everything shiny. So unloading, it's kind of Christmas. This kiln's really easy. You just open up the door and everything comes off the shelves really easily, or should, if everything went right. And then the shelves turn out to a little bit messy, so we'll have to take a grinder and grind off all the glass that I was spraying around the kiln for the next firing. But pretty much just take your pieces off the shelves like a cabinet, and you might need to sand your pieces a little bit at the bottom where that wadding was. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You take it out, you put it in boxes, you bring it home. Yeah, so the most challenging part to me is the actual making of the pieces on the pottery wheel, getting the form and function to match this aesthetic of the kiln. I do have flashing slips and glazes that I do work through, and I try and get the right combinations to work with my pieces, and the way I fire is pretty unique to me and this kiln. If we go to a different kiln, it'll be a little bit different, but yeah, all in all, just a combination of the throwing and the firing to get the pieces the way I want it. To make a mug, it takes about 20 years. It's something I've heard from a lot of potters, because that's about how long I've been doing pottery, and that's how long it took to build up these skills. But no, it's really, one day I'll throw 20 or 30 cups, let's say, and the next day they get dry enough that I can attach handles and do the finishing, and after that I let them dry for a few days, which I then put into, we call it a bisque firing, and before the glaze firing we just dry it out completely. We turn it from clay into ceramic. It gets harder, it doesn't break, it doesn't fall apart when I'm glazing it, and then I can fire it in the soda kiln. So altogether, yeah, one piece, I would say, if you're going quickly, like 20 minutes to an hour, depends on the piece. Yeah, so there are different types of clays. I use mainly porcelain, but there's also like stoneware clays. They have more iron and other impurities in it. Porcelains tend to be considerably whiter, so whatever glaze or slips I put on there tend to be a little brighter. Some clays are, we call it low fire, and they mature around 1,020 degrees Celsius, and others, like high fires, mature at between 1,200 and 1,300 degrees Celsius. And it all makes a difference in your glazes and how they'll work in the dishwasher and microwave, if they're completely food safe. Yeah, it's chemistry at that point. Yeah, well, if you're looking to do a career in ceramics, well, it's fun. Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Terry.Hildebrand. I have a website. It's Pot Terry. It's an extra T in pottery, I think. Pot Terry. Now I can almost not spell pottery anymore because my website is potterry.com.
Rolling out wadding to put on the bottoms of cups so it can create like a little shelf beneath the piece in the kiln wall, so it doesn't like stick once we do the actual like soda spraying in. So it's really easy. This is just what wadding is. It's made of, things and stuff. EPK, alumina, beautiful things. So if it's like a small piece, you want to do like just 3 wads, because triangles are the strongest shape. Whoa!
They're more stable. They're always, all the feet will be on the ground.
Exactly. 3 points of contact, just like that. And then, I'll leave that to dry a little bit like that, so when I flip it over, the glue doesn't totally like smash.